Hey, good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Welcome to the Tiger Talk Tree Perspective. This is episode 9, installment number 9. Thank you for stopping in. Got a good show going for y'all today. I kind of got back on TikTok this week after TikTok did me dirty and flagged a couple of my videos or videos. And then end up, I don't know, losing my followers, my everything. I worked so hard on TikTok for. They just took everything, lost it. So I'm pretty much starting over, just reinventing myself, I guess, reintroducing myself to that. This week we're gonna talk about pretty much first of all, me trying to practice stop saying that's something I'm really gonna practice trying to control, be aware of. If you notice, I didn't start this week off with any soundtrack music. I'm trying to do something new. What I'm trying to do is I'm see, there we go with the again. What I'm trying to do rather is begin to try to put this podcast on other platforms. And if I use the music that I'm using off YouTube, then that'll be copyright. Then I'll have to make 5, 6, 7 different edits to put on different platforms. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna cut back on doing that right now. The videos I could do because paying for YouTube, so they allow me to use the videos and clips and then say like, share, and subscribe and all that. So I'll be able to do that anyway. And I'll be able to continue using the clips. But as far as the music, I'll probably end up getting my keyboard out and all that and coming up with some of my own jingles or whatever you want to call it. But nevertheless, see, there we go with the again. I'm trying to stop doing that. What I want to get into is, I talked about earlier in a lot of maybe a couple of podcasts, a few of my clips that I put out there about how they're trying to promote a civil war. That's what I see as one of the forms of chaos that could be used. And there we go, DM again. And the what's going down in Texas is a prime example of what I was talking about. And while we're focused on just the Texas defying the Supreme Court and Biden and all of them fighting each other. What I'm looking at is all the other 25 states that backed Texas. See, they never really tell us. You ever hear that saying? And this, what I said this before. Of eventually, you're gonna have to choose a side. What side you on? What you gonna do? And right now, that's you're not gonna have to pick that. It's being decided for you. It actually has been decided. What you have to do is you have to sit back and I got a clip that I'm about to play, maybe two, and just let's listen to the clips, listen to what they're saying, listen to what's going on. But notice that with 25 other states back in Texas, that means that those 25 other states chose a side. And the other states that haven't said anything, they're, the absent of the truth is a lie, or the absent of stepping up means you agree. So the other states that's not stepping up and saying whether they back Texas or not, they're pretty much agreeing with the government side. And if they don't, then the people that live in those states, like the state I live in, North Carolina, who really hasn't yet chosen a side, we always wait to the last minute. That's when I'm finding out. But yeah, the sides have been decided. Find out what state that you live in, what state backed, what's one of those 25 states back Texas, and then you can see what side that your state is on, which means that's the side that you're on. So just keep that in mind. When I talk about the Civil War and everything, I'm not saying it's got to happen, but what could be used out of all of this is the fear mongering, is the uncertainty. And see, uncertainty, they could use that with the markets. They could use that in their for their advantage. and y'all know what I'm talking about when I say they. Also, one thing I'm learning I got to start saying is that everything I say is for entertainment purposes. I give you information. You do what you have to do with it. That's one thing I'm learning. I have to say. I gotta keep saying that. For some reason, I forget to say that. I'm gonna have to make a clip and just put it at the front as one of my intros, just to make sure it's being said. Because that's a big thing, and I'm new to this internet world, and I'm trying to get to understand how this works. So I'm trying to make the right maneuvers and make sure this works so I don't get in trouble and stuff like that or get banned or flagged and just kicked off before I even get started. So with that being said, I'm gonna have a couple of videos going on talking about Texas, talking about what's going on down there, and we'll talk about it after this clip.
The tense standoff between the state of Texas and the federal government at the southern border, it continues. The state appearing to stand against the feds, processing migrants packing a border town park in the community of Eagle Pass. Our Olivia Leach sitting down today with an immigration attorney to break down what all this essentially means and what's next in this ongoing battle.
The battle at the border has reached a boiling point.
No, we have never seen at the point that we are right now, where we have the Texas National Guard, agents from DPS, basically blocking entrance and taking authority or control of the border.
On Monday, the Supreme Court said the federal government has the authority to remove razor wire that Texas installed at the southern border. Homeland Security said Texas had until Friday to give federal authorities access to Eagle Pass. But Governor Abbott is doubling down, saying he'll increase state patrol of the border, adding more barriers and more razor wire. Jaime Vasquez, an immigration attorney, has been watching these developments closely.
So we are a very critical issue right now because we're testing really the essence of the Republic of the United States and whether or not the Supreme Court has authority, whether states have to abide.
On Friday, Attorney General Ken Paxton refused the federal government's request for access to the border and demanded proof that the federal government has authority to turn a Texas park into a port of entry.
The federal government decides what ports of entry are, and that's how determinations are made.
Vasquez says we'll have to wait and see who takes action next.
If the federal government back down from this, they completely will lose the authority they have on Supreme Court precedents.
25 Republican governors have backed Governor Abbott's stance. They say Texas has the constitutional right to self-defense. Governor Abbott says he believes those states would be willing to send troops to the border if needed.
I think that we are right now crossed the line of trying to fix the problem and now they're making it a political issue.
In Dallas, Olivia Leach, CBS News, Texas.
This all comes, of course, as a bipartisan group of senators have reportedly reached a deal on federal immigration reform and southern border security. Details still limited. However, sources say it would give the president more power to significantly restrict illegal immigration. However, it would also speed up the asylum process to consider cases within 6 months. Right now, that can take up to 10 years. The full deal is expected to be unveiled next week.
Okay, so let's continue, right, with the next clip. But basically, you see what's going on. It seems sometimes it feels like it could seem like a show, because when you start dealing with predictive programming and they start predicting, because a lot of times what they'll do is, just because you don't go the way that you think that is planned, they don't care about that. If they can just get some idiots just to do some stupid crap, that'll be enough. So sometimes they just do a lot of nonsense to get people to jump off. And I'm just saying, like, right now, everybody gotta be level headed. You can't let all the hoopla and everything get you riled up. Just sit back and just watch what's going on, because you'll start hearing them say the truckers and they're the good old boys and all this, and that's not really true. A lot of them truckers are black truckers, Spanish truckers, There's a lot of people that are American that just standing side by side. Just because the media portrays in that way, don't always just go by what you think you hear or what they're showing you. You got to really kind of understand what's really going on. And truthfully, we're being invaded because it doesn't make no sense. How could the Democrats say, and I understand they say it's inhumane or whatever, but honestly, it's like this how I personally feel. If you're stupid enough to walk into a bunch of barbed wire fences knowing that it's going to cut you up, you can't say that somebody put it in your way when you're breaking the law. Because what ends up happening is I really think that a lot of people that's in prison right now, or a lot of people that ever went to prison, if they don't do something, should have a class action lawsuit for equal protection under the law. How can you let people come in here and break the law, but yet throw Americans in jail? That's just like having all these people come over here and putting them up in 5-star hotels or in free housing and free everything, even if it ain't 5-star hotel. If it's just free, they got people in America that can't get no housing. We have a homeless population problem, and that's not being taken care of. If they could put these people in hotels and everything, all of a sudden, why can't they get the homeless people in California off the street, or in New York off the street, or Chicago or Detroit? Why can't get these homeless people off all these cities and off the streets now? That means that they have enough room or something that they could possibly do if they could do that. But why wouldn't you do it for Americans first? That's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying that I don't want immigrants or anything like that. Nah, what I'm saying is that if you're breaking the law and it's known that this the law being broken, then come on, man. There's a lot of people in America right now that's in jail for marijuana, and they broke the law and they went to jail. And these people are breaking like almost federal laws and everything, just coming over here and then get everything free, and that's like getting rewarded for breaking the law. And that's what they're doing, and that's not right. But it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get rough because what's going on now is besides having what's happening down at the borders, what they're saying is that by March 11th is when all the banking system is going to start restructuring all the banks. So what I keep trying to tell you is just don't look at one thing. Don't just get caught up with first they got the election. That's a lot of stimuli. Donald Trump and all that, Hunter Biden, all that political stimuli. Now they got you thinking about the border and all of this stimuli. And then what's going to come next is the housing market. Oh, the housing market is going to be crazy. I'm telling you, I'm going on record right now. Everybody keeps saying they think the Feds and all of them keep interest rates low. I think they're going to skyrocket them things so high. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring interest rate up to almost 10%. For real. They're going to break everybody at one time. Already, I'm going to play some clips with Lena. I got 2 clips for her. And but yeah, they talking about restructuring all the banks now. When they restructure these banks and they cut back on lending to small businesses, what that's going to end up doing is that's going to slowly start seeing people getting laid off, and then you're going to slowly start seeing more monopolies on real estate that we're no longer going to be able to afford. Like I said before, I think I read an article a couple of months ago that was talking about that they might be talking about 100-year mortgage. Like you'll never be able to own anything. Like I keep saying, Charles Schwab said, you'll own nothing and you like it. I've been telling people for years to start paying off everything you can, because this transfer of wealth that's coming, if you kept yourself in a decent position, you could come off to be one of the barons. That's the only way I'm gonna put it. You could get paid. Because once people get laid off and they don't loan no more, they're saying that right now that 30 to 40% of people between 18 and 30 something years old are at least a month or two behind in bills. That's crazy. So then check it. So now, if all of a sudden, just listen to where I'm going with this. Let's listen at the big problems that's going to come down the line, because rent is going down, because the prices of houses going up, which is going to end up leveling off for a little while. They're squeezing people out of the housing market, making it cheaper to rent. People get so used to rent, and it becomes a livelihood. It becomes normal. And once enough people's out of houses, you'll never be able to own one. It'll be like almost impossible to ever buy something like that. But nevertheless, everybody start being renters. And then once everybody start being renters, and then the banks stop loaning, people start getting laid off, and then as times get hard, people start selling things, and people start getting rid of their cars and all of this. And once you get one bad, you know, inquiry on your credit, you got perfect credit, and don't pay that car payment just one time. Just miss one car payment. Just don't pay that one bill. Don't just get that one thing on your credit and mess your credit up. What that's gonna trigger all of these renters who are trying to get all this money for these apartments. They're gonna have to start renting to people with bad credit. And then a lot of them will be like, nah, I'll try to go with people that's a high end and do all of this and do all of that and get the people who got money, and I'll just keep my rent up high. But those people's gonna end up saying, we could afford to buy a house. Why would I do this? So then you're going to be stuck with people who have to be renters, but with bad credit scores. And that's what I'm talking about when I always say the Hunger Games. Listen, it's about to happen. There's this company in China that's called Evergrande. I've been telling people for the life of me since 2022, get out of Evergrande, stay out of Evergrande. Oh, get out of Evergrande. I was telling so many people, they finally just went under. They're being liquidated right now. You know how much money is being lost? Remember them Chinese cities? Hold on, let me just say something. Everything on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. I give you the information. You decide what you want to do with it. Okay? Now, all those buildings in China that they was talking about, them ghost cities, a lot of those ghost cities was being built by Evergrande. And there was a lot of investors thinking that these cities was going to, because remember, it's supposed to be the new Chinese century. Everybody's supposed to have ran to China, allegedly. But all these buildings, pretty much, when they say empty, if I'm not mistaken, they're not just empty with no occupants. They're literally empty with no pipes, no wiring, no sockets, no receptacles, no switches, no anything. They didn't put nothing in the building. No plumbing, no toilets, no stoves, no sinks, anything. They just built the building, just left everything plain, and took everybody's money. You thought at least, well, I guess I don't know whose words Bernie made off of these people, because at least these people look like they was building something. Bernie just took all your money, but either way, it was a Ponzi scheme, and now they're being liquidated. And they talking about people are going to lose a lot of money, and it's going to affect the globe. The globe, people, big hedge funds investing in this Evergrande. So that's another thing that's going to be coming down. Then I think, like I said, I think the Fed are going to raise the interest rates. Then we can't forget about this food crisis that's still around. We can't forget about all these other things that's going around with these wars. I got something I want to read to y'all real quick. Just give me 1 second. This is one of the news clips I was reading off of Brighteon today. I got this off of Brighteon. Mike Adams, Brighteon. He's the Health Ranger. I've been watching him before he even started Brighteon. Watching him as a Health Ranger. That's how I've been actually trying to stay healthy and everything. But that's another story. But he has Brighteon TV. You can go over there to Brighteon.com. That's Mike Adams, and he got good stuff over there. But anyway, I got this off of his page, and this is just a quick breakdown of some of the, I guess, current events. And it goes: Hong Kong court has ordered China's Ponzi property developer Evergrande to be Ponzi property developer Evergrande to be liquidated. This will set off a series of global debt defaults that will obliterate trillions of dollars in leveraged debt instruments. Next, Germany, meanwhile, is ordering its citizens to build bunkers, saying the government doesn't have enough time left to do so on its own. Citizens will be ordered to defend electrical infrastructure and railroads in the coming war without the help of soldiers. Next, U.S. soldiers have been killed in a drone strike in Jordan, actually Syria, leading U.S. warmongers to demand mass bombings of Iran. And Israel is reportedly about to escalate its war with Lebanon because it's losing so badly in Gaza. And in other words, these are getting extremely destabilized on a global scale. And that's what I was talking about when I said, like, we got to be careful about what's going on, because it's not just things that's going on in America. It's things that's going on around the world that affects us on a regular basis. And it's getting worse, and it's getting heavy. Like, they talking wars, man. Like, seriously, like, different countries about to go at it. They just trying to find a way to get it to just that one little spark, whether it's bomb Iran, Israel go to war with Lebanon and other countries now, and Jordan and Syria and all these other countries getting back in the fold. It's as if they're trying to find a way to get something to pop off. And believe it or not, it seems like there's a lot of level-headed players that's not falling for it, because it could have been jumped off, and it hasn't. So this next clip that I want to get y'all into right now to understand what financially what's about to go down.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. There was a very unusual warning, or announcement rather, made by the European Central Bank this week. If you have any money in a bank, and most of us do, of course, this isn't really something we want to hear. Without any fear-mongering, I would say it is wise to take this message very, very seriously. This is a legitimate cause for a concern. So the European Central Bank reportedly asked certain banks within its system to monitor activity on social media in order to detect early signs of bank runs. This is truly unprecedented, as the European Central Bank essentially admits to having major concerns about its liquidity, and it's very worried that social media may increase the risk exponentially. I'm reading here from the European Central Bank site. The article is titled "Financial Stability Considerations Arising from the Digitalization of Financial Services." The digitalization of financial services brings a variety of benefits, but could also amplify and accelerate the materialization of financial stability risks, it says. Authorities' attention was drawn to episodes of extreme volatility in the prices of meme stocks in the first half of 2021. You may remember this. GameStop shorting back in 2021 made hedge funds lose millions of dollars. They were shocked, everyone was shocked, while a group of retail investors coordinated buying and selling. But that is trading, and that is very much in line with the general nature of trading. Applying this as precedent to long-term bank deposits may be a bit of a stretch. The banking sector's stress in the United States in March of 2023 reignited concerns around the impact of digitalization on financial stability, as the interaction of increased online banking and social media may accelerate the pace of bank runs. And then the ECB concluded, regulators and supervisors should consider the issue of how digitalization could accelerate the pace of deposit withdrawals in a structural way during periods of stress. So the question is here, are they actually expecting a period of stress in 2024? Finally, how social media activities relate to financial stability concerns, and how the analysis of such activities can be used to monitor risks requires further investigation. So the European Central Bank is effectively telling us of its plans to ensure that social media coverage does not ignite a bank run. What needs to be done to make sure that this goal is accomplished? That's right, it is a scary word, but more likely than not, social media posts related to banking will be monitored and quite possibly, this is a scary word, censored so as not to cause panic. I will remind you that censorship was the big topic at the WEF in Davos a couple of weeks ago. For example, here is Ursula von der Leyen and one of our favorite people, Klaus, sharing their thoughts. Watch.
For the global business community, the top concern for the next 2 years is not conflict or climate. It is disinformation and misinformation, followed closely by polarization within our societies. These risks are serious because they limit our ability to tackle the big global challenges we are facing. Changes in our climate and our geopolitical climate, shifts in our demography and in our technology, spiraling regional conflicts and intensified geopolitical competition and their impacts on supply chains. The sobering reality is that we are once again competing more intensely across countries than we have in several decades. And this makes the theme of this year's Davos meeting even more relevant: rebuilding trust. This is not a time for conflicts or polarization. This is a time to build trust. This is a time to drive global collaboration more than ever before. This requires immediate and structural responses to match the size of the global challenges. I believe it can be done, and I believe that Europe can and must take the lead in shaping that global response. The starting point for that is to look deeper at the Global Risk Report to map out a way forward. Many of the solutions lie not only in countries working together, but crucially on businesses and governments, business and democracies working together. It has never been more important for the public and private sector to create new connective tissue, because none of these challenges respects borders. They each require collaboration to manage risks and to forge a path forward. And this is what I want to talk today about. While governments hold many of the levers to deal with the great challenges of our time, business have the innovation, the technology, the talents to deliver the solutions we need, to fight threats like climate change or industrial-scale disinformation.
All right, I don't think that video requires further commentary. In March of 2023, last year, the European Banking Authority, which is an independent European financial sector agency, called on regulators to assess risks, including social media, that could, quote, contribute to a deterioration in the public perception and reputation of the institution. In response to the ECB's requests, which were specific to certain banks in the region, a major European lender has allegedly formed an entire team that would monitor social media and signal significant volumes of negative posts to the bank's treasury, which will in turn then assess any impact on deposits. What the European Central Bank is asking banks to do is to effectively keep an eye on the general sentiment that people have regarding the banking system and alert the central bank if they notice social media activity casting serious doubts about the stability of the banking industry as well as possible bank failures. I want to take this just one step further, and we have to ask this very, very uncomfortable question. Would the recent EU laws about, quote, disinformation and multiple references made by world leaders in Davos about having to control the narrative even more, where does this ECB social media effort, this request, actually fit in? So banks will now have to provide employment to people whose sole duty, whose sole responsibility will be to keep an eye on social media. That seems to be nearly Orwellian, doesn't it? And the question is, perhaps nobody wants to ask, when those types of posts are detected, will the accounts that posted them be banned, blocked, maybe temporarily suspended, or left alone? What is the next logical step here? Well, probably nobody can answer those questions for us. It is clear that there are serious concerns about banks' liquidity as depositors are increasingly becoming aware that 2024 may be a year of some major changes, especially with so many countries around the world holding elections this year. And when you add European leaders on a daily basis starting to talk about World War III, it doesn't exactly make anyone comfortable. So it is no wonder that the European Central Bank recognizes now that their depositors may soon start to question if their deposits are actually safe. It didn't help that the head of the European Central Bank, Christine Lagarde, advertised the next phase of European Central Bank digital currency CBDC development that started back in November of last year. The digital euro is clearly adding fuel to the fire too. Banks have always been worried about meeting depositors' cash withdrawal demands. This is nothing new. But typically banks, being heavily regulated by their governments, by regulators, have to meet certain liquidity requirements that minimize potential risks. And as a former bank auditor, I cannot tell you how structured the banking industry is and how much oversight there is from the regulators, which is precisely why it is so unusual to see the ECB go as far as to say, hey, let's just watch what they're posting on social media. We need to keep track of those social media accounts that express personal concerns about the stability of the banking sector. The ECB and its regulators are framing these efforts to effectively monitor social media as a way to detect early signs of depositors' growing concerns. But to me, that seems to be odd because as a bank, it's either you manage your liquidity well or you don't. It's very black and white. And if you don't, then it means you're likely keeping significant unrealized losses in your investment portfolio, likely in this high interest rate environment that we're in right now, which prevents you from selling those investments at a loss, because losses on your income statement will cause a chain reaction. Your shareholders won't be happy, your shares might decline, nobody wants that mess. And from a regulator standpoint, instead of wasting money to pay people who spend all day on social media watching what you and I post, perhaps it would be a good idea for these regulators to look into providing a safety net for those banks that do have liquidity issues or that might have liquidity issues. Maybe they should work out a plan so that people actually feel safe and have no concerns. Perhaps that's where they need to focus their human resources and their payroll expenses instead of paying people to see who's posting what on social media. I will go ahead and end the video here. Leave me a comment below. What are your thoughts on this? And are you personally concerned that there may be bank runs in the near future? Comment below and let me know. Thank you for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you learned something from it, if you found it helpful. Share it with your network, with your friends and family, and subscribe on Rumble and YouTube. I know many of you don't really use Rumble yet, but it is a great alternative. Check out my video description below and connect with me on various platforms. I will see you in my new one tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day, and bye for now.
And see, I really don't care what nobody says. I believe these people will lie to you until they do that dirty trick that they always do. They never let you know when nothing's going to happen. They always tell you everything's fine, like this, yelling, all these ladies from the Treasury and all this Fed. Well, we're going to have a soft land and everything will be positive. No, it's not. They're lying to us. Did you hear what Lena was saying? Do y'all know what a bank run is? A bank run means when everybody goes to the bank and try to get their money out and the banks shut the doors and don't let nobody get nothing. See, if you listen to what she was saying, that's why she said that the banks want to start monitoring the internet and social media, because they know now with new technology. See, back in the days in the 70s and 80s, maybe even the 90s, if the banks wanted to do something, by the time people realized what was going on, only the leaders could get their money out. But now there's people that work in the bank and tell their people, yo, you better come up here and get your dough. And one person got to tell somebody else. And once it hit the internet, everybody bum rush to the bank around the world. And that's when the collapse is going to happen real fast. And I think they know that's what's going to come down. I'm telling you. Don't for one second think that they don't do actuaries and drills and know what people's stimuli and responses are going to be. And they could actually lead you in the direction to make it happen. So imagine the housing market, the border being bum rushed, a food crisis. It's about to be it's about to be flooded in California again. There go the rest of the crops. Another year that's going to happen again. More food that you're not going to be able to have. I'm telling you, I better get some dirt and fertilizer. I've been trying to tell people on TikTok for the longest on how to start preparing for this calamity that's about to come. And it's not even about the government doing something to you or martial law or anything like that. It's just straight up famine. I've been talking about how these young cats don't know about, you know, the 70s, 80s, when there was cheese lines and we was in the depression and recessions and the odds and even days for the gas and stuff like that. People don't remember that stuff. See, a lot of our uncles that raised me when I was little in the 70s, I was born in 71. So all my uncles that was older, that raised me as a little boy to grow up, they're gone. So there's really nobody now to let this new generation know what's coming. They have no idea what don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Those times about to come back. But in modern times with technology, see, back then when you was a bum, you was a bum. Now you could be a bum with a smartphone. They're giving those away free. You could be the poorest person in the world. They're gonna have you connected. They're gonna find you. They're gonna track you. That's why they're giving you the phones and everything. But nevertheless, these bank runs is to let you know how the financial institution is changing. America's hierarchy in the world and the dollar being the number one currency in the world is being challenged. What the outcome's gonna be, I have no idea, but it's being challenged. It's being challenged directly. The next clip I'm about to play y'all is to let you understand what's really going on. Y'all have to understand what's going on around the world. You can't just look about what's going on in the United States. They'll keep you blinded. They won't never let you know what's really happening. You have to look at these other countries. There are other countries that's fighting, that's calling these elitists out. And if you're not really looking, and I'll be on the internet looking and trying to find all types of things, and they're really scraping the internet for us finding information. It's getting harder and harder for this to be the World Wide Web. It's so hard to find information now. All the buffoonery stuff you can find real quick, but the information that you're really looking for, you have to really dig deep and double search and all kinds of stuff to find out where this information's at. Because they don't want you to see it. They don't want you to know none of this stuff. But anyway, watch out for those bank runs. Know what's happening with the finances. Be honest with yourself with finances. I can't tell you nothing about finances. The only thing I could tell you from my perspective and from what I know from experience is you got to be honest with yourself, with your finances in order to survive. You can't lie to yourself. Try to stay away from the credit cards, y'all. I know everybody, they got people thinking they're the best thing in the world. Man, I never liked credit cards. I've always been scared of them. Anything that says credit, oh man, I've been so scared. Excuse me, that's my phobia. It's credit. I'm scared of credit. Especially them creditors, them some vicious people, man. Them people are vampires. Them credit collectors, man, when they come after you for student loans and all kinds of stuff, they're ruthless with it, boy. So, just stick to this next clip. You'll understand what I'm talking about, and we'll talk about it.
Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I have a very quick update for you on the BRICS bloc, specifically the BRICS Bank, the new development bank. There are reports of the bank preparing to launch new bonds that will be available in local currencies rather than in the United States dollars. This is yet another step towards de-dollarization of developing economies. Think about its possible impact. Prior to the BRICS bloc taking center stage, this would have been the IMF, International Monetary Fund, or the World Bank giving loans denominated in US dollars to these developing countries, developing nations that would never be able to pay them back under conditions, of course, that are advantageous to the lenders and not to borrowers. So the new development bank is in a position now to play a key role in driving de-dollarization. The expected release of the BRICS bond is a major development for several reasons. First and foremost, these bonds will encourage investments in currencies other than the United States dollar. By the way, what is a bond? Very quickly, a bond is a debt instrument that is effectively a loan that is made by an investor to a borrower. A borrower in this case would typically be governments, corporations, states, municipalities that need to finance large development type projects. An owner of a bond can be thought of as a creditor. So with that being said, the new development bank is expected to release the bonds that are worth $28 billion. The chief operating officer, Vladimir Kazbekov, stated that they're still waiting on regulatory approvals, but they don't really anticipate any roadblocks or issues there. These new bonds will be made available to member countries' banks, as well as the governments, members of the bloc, in order to finance infrastructure programs. Remember that during the latest summit that was held in Johannesburg last summer, the bloc discussed a variety of collaboration efforts that they want to get involved in, and that would include medical and science development, healthcare accessibility. So these bonds will help them start working towards those very ambitious but absolutely necessary for them goals. From the standpoint of de-dollarization, the bonds will of course promote the use of local currencies and will contribute over a long term to the decrease in demand for the US dollar. The BRICS Bank is a truly unique entity in my opinion. According to its president Dilma Rousseff, the bank will lend in the South African and Brazilian currencies as well as in rupees. So this move is expected to be a catalyst for restructuring the global financial system. The goal here is clearly to create alternatives. The bank has already been lending in Chinese renminbi, by the way. In fact, the new development bank has already lent $33 billion for infrastructure projects among its member non-BRICS states, such as Egypt, Bangladesh. This was prior to Egypt joining as of January 1st of this year. And it has provided funding to the UAE prior to it receiving an official invitation to join the bloc. So as far as I know, the BRICS Bank has agreed to accept Uruguay. Uruguay is allegedly in the final stages of admission. And in addition to that, in addition to using those two currencies to make loans to developing nations for a variety of infrastructure projects, the former Brazilian president and now the head of the BRICS Bank, Dilma Rousseff, said that she was working on expanding the bank's membership. There are 15 countries that have formally applied for membership, and about a third of them may be admitted soon. The head of the BRICS Bank previously explained that the primary reason that makes the BRICS Bank more attractive than the IMF, for example, is its lower cost of debt. And that is extremely important, especially for nations that have very limited resources, since there is no foreign exchange rate involved. So these developing countries that have very, very limited financial resources will love this because conversion fees are extremely high too. The main purpose of the BRICS Bank is to become the lender of choice for developing countries and emerging markets, so the global south, so to speak. Rousseff said that its focus is to become, quote, a bank made by developing countries for themselves. In one of her interviews, Dilma Rousseff said, local currencies are not alternatives to the dollar. They are alternatives to a system. So far, the system has been unipolar. It's going to be substituted by a more multipolar system. So do you see now? This isn't just about the dollar losing its hegemony as the result of years and years of questionable fiscal and foreign policies. These changes that we're already seeing in the world right now go far beyond the United States dollar as the global reserve currency. Remember, reserve currencies come and go. The US dollar isn't the first and most likely won't be the last one. What Dilma Rousseff is telling us is that it's bigger than that. It's about restructuring the entire system, not just substituting one currency for another. Foreign economic aid, excluding humanitarian aid, in many cases is an extension of a country's foreign policy. For example, the IMF and the World Bank require certain conditions. In many cases, let's call these questionable policies to be implemented by a foreign government, by a foreign borrower in exchange for funds, for a loan that has to be paid back anyway. One of the latest examples is the IMF making loans to Zelensky in exchange for truly crippling policies to be implemented in Ukraine. And so as the result of that, Ukraine now has the strictest anti-union, anti-worker policies in the entire world that effectively turn average workers earning minimum wage, minimum pay into resources without rights, without bargaining power, and without a voice. So that's how it works. The BRICS Bank stated that it won't set any purely political conditions on those loans. Dilma Rousseff commented, often a loan is given upon the condition that certain policies are carried out. We don't do that. We respect the policies of each country. The release of $28 billion worth in new BRICS bonds is a truly significant step. This isn't the first time that the new development bank issues bonds, by the way. Previously, they issued $1.25 billion 3-year green bond. This transaction was very well received by investors. There were 50 investors from Asia, from Europe, and the Americas. And so according to its website, the net proceeds from the issuance of those bonds were allocated to finance and or to refinance eligible green projects, effectively helping developing nations invest in sustainable infrastructure. So interesting timing, interesting developments in my opinion. It is so important that these countries, especially those without immediate access to healthcare or other essential infrastructure, get assistance and will get a chance to fund their projects in a way that will contribute to their future development. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate your time. Thanks for all of your support. Remember to join me on Rumble, YouTube, and Substack. I will see you in my next one tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.
What's so crazy is that I've been telling people that the BRICS is coming for a minute also. And that's what I'm saying is like when you're able to sit back and you start seeing it, like you go back to some of my old videos, my old TikTok videos. I've been talking about the BRICS since forever. Even before I started doing videos, I was telling my people like, yo, look, check it when they come out the BRICS coins, start checking it out. You know, Wakanda forever, whatever you want to say. I've been telling people like, watch these African countries. They stepping up, man. And, you know, when I was talking to my cousin and he was asking me, why do I care about am I leaving the country and all this other stuff, like I was trying to explain to you before, it wasn't even about that. This is what I was trying to tell him, that eventually when everything collapses, be prepared. It wasn't even just about, you know, the dollar's going to collapse and, you know, what we're going to do as a country. No, when the dollar collapses, what are you going to eat? When the dollar collapses, how are you going to wipe your ass? When the dollar collapses, how are you going to stay warm? When the dollar collapses, How you going to try to stay above water because they're going to still want their bills? These companies are going to still, the electric company going to want their electric bill. The water company going to want their water bill. The gas company want their gas bill. These people still going to, and the government's going to be like, if you use it, you owe them. So, like, for example, a lot of people in my neighborhood, they cut down a lot of their trees, and I ain't cut down none of my trees. And a lot of people are like, yeah, so I tell them, yeah, I like privacy. But, and, lo and behold, a lot of it is because when, if things happen and things get bad, at least I got wood on my property. I could cut down my own trees, drop my own wood over time, over one winter, one summer, whatever, and just start piling them up like my grandfather did along the fence line, and just have wood just keep piling up, and use the chimney in the house if I have to keep warm. People forgot about them days when you have fireplaces. They were there for a reason. You sit around the fireplace to stay warm. That's how you keep the house heated and keep the house warm. And you know what I mean? That's how you had to do when it was wintertime. Have to take it back to the old ways. Everybody didn't have all this heat. Like I said, we get so spoiled in America with toilet bowls and refrigerators and running water and able to take a shower 3, 4, 5 times a day and eating avocado toast when, people barely got anything. Like I said, even the poor people in America got cell phones. So nobody really understand what it is. Like nobody in this day and time really understand what it is to be poor, to be broke, to have hard times. See, everybody's going to be caught up with all these devices around with no food. And there's not going to be nobody that's buy those devices when they went to go pawn your cell phone because you need some food. Nobody's going to have money to buy that cell phone. Nobody's going to have money to buy that PS5 that you want to sell because you and your kids are hungry, so you decide to sell it. It's too late. Nobody got money for that. You might not even see pawn shops. They might even shut down because they're not really going to have the money. And if they do, they're not going to be buying everything because they're not going to be able to sell it. So how's the pawn shop going to stay in business? The only way the pawn shop's going to stay in business is if you bring them gold, diamonds, jewelry, or something like that. Outside of that, they're not even going to make money. That's what I mean when I say this great reset was coming. The calamity that they're trying to set people up for is going to be so harsh. Like I got some clips that I wanted to play. I'm not even going to play them, but there's a clip where Bill Gates is already talking about the next pandemic should really make people think twice about not taking a vaccine. Like, what are they talking about? There's another clip that I got where they talking about the Chinese government just created a disease 100 times worse than COVID with almost 100% fatality rate. Another worse than Disease X. That's all they keep calling Disease X's. Look it up, y'all. Everything I'm telling you, just stop what I'm doing, just pause it for a second and go look it up for yourself. See if everything I'm telling you is accurate. You can find out. Look up Chinese government, Chinese lab creates virus 100 times worse than COVID. Look that up. Facts. And in that same article, it said that they think that it can transfer over to humans. In other words, get out that lab. So what's the next pandemic that the homeboy Billy and everybody's looking to send our way? Do y'all have certain vitamins and stuff in your house already? Your zincs and your, you know what I mean? Your vitamin D's and everything? You stock up on that stuff yet? And what did we learn from COVID? That there's going to be a rush on hand sanitizers, peroxide, alcohol. Like, come on now. They're telling you there's another disease coming. Has anybody even went and bought any peroxide, any hand sanitizer yet? Or y'all going to wait till it's such a bad situation that they're not going to have nothing anymore? Have we learned anything? If I was y'all, I'd start buying 3 cans of Lysol a week. Something. Start buying some disinfectants from industrial side disinfectants and stuff like that, and just start putting your garage and under your kitchen sink, your bathroom sinks. Start doing it. I'm being honest with y'all. This is real talk right now. Because if you just look at a bigger picture, like if you were to draw all of this on a wall right now, and you just drew it and just, you know how they say, I don't know, for example, if you want to see how your relationship's going, you write all the good on one side, bad on the other. And, if you want to check your finances out, see what you need and see what you don't, prioritize stuff. Same thing with what's going on in life. Put everything up on the wall and look at everything negative happen, and then write down everything good that's happening. And then see what that picture looks like. And just be honest. That's the thing. Like, it seems like, I'm not rich. Trust me, I'm not. I'm thugging it just like everybody else. But I put myself in a situation where I think I'm doing pretty decent. And it's even hard for me. So I know people that doing worse than me is hard. So I don't see how people are walking around here fronting. How's everybody walking around here like everything's sweet, everything's okay when it's not? You know how many videos I've seen on YouTube just this week alone about women complaining how much they spending on food? And these are people who can't get EBT cards or food stamps or Medicaid or any type of assistance. They got to do everything right out their pocket because they make $100 too much. Basic food bills is like $400 now. You ain't coming home about six grocery bags. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I remember when a liter of that, like, I really don't drink soda like that. We never did. But I remember when a liter of soda was like 99 cents, 89 cents, 79 cents, 69 cents, all that stuff, man. I went in the store the other day, $3.49 for a liter. I was like, ooh, what are they doing? Are they serious? Like $9 for a box of cereal now? Y'all don't really see what's about to happen? And it's gonna get worse. Wait today. I'm telling you right now, you better start stacking up, I'm telling you, I'm pivoting right now from everything else to survival right now. Now that I think about it, I'm telling y'all, you better go get some of those blue buckets from Lowe's. And right now, every week, you better buy either some rice, some noodles, something that you can store away that you can eat on a later date. Because the way things are going right now, the prices are about to start skyrocketing after March 11th. I'm telling you, March 11th, where it's at. I told you they're going to wait till the middle of the winter. That's dead, man. I'm telling you, it's going to be so cold in February. By March 11th, you're going to be waiting for the springtime to thaw out, and you're still going to have another 4 or 5 weeks. And don't let it be a blueberry summer like they call down here, where it gets warm for a second up until April, and then all of a sudden it gets cold again for about 3 weeks. Yeah. That's what happens. I'm telling y'all, you gotta be on point. That's how they kill the crops and everything. So y'all gotta know what this stuff is. But I'm telling y'all gotta start planning. I've been trying to say on my TikTok videos how to plan, how to get flashlights and solar power battery packs and storable food. And y'all ladies better learn how to dispose of your stuff when things shut down. And y'all, I'm telling y'all, it's a lot going on, man. I might have to go through some of those things I did on TikTok right here on this podcast, because a lot of people aren't crossing over. So I'm not getting all my TikTokers onto the podcast. And I don't know, maybe I might just put that stuff up here and just talk y'all through it. But all right, let me switch. See if we go to this conspiracy thing real quick.
Chinese scientists are experimenting with a mutant COVID-19 strain that reportedly has a 100% kill streak in mice. The new strain is called GXP2V, and it attacks the brains of mice engineered to reflect similar genetic makeup to humans. With most mice living just 8 days after being infected with this virus, researchers report the mice lost weight, became sluggish, adopted a hunched posture, with their eyes turning completely white the day before they died. Now, this experiment, of course, brings back haunting memories from the 2020 pandemic. Let's bring in senior national correspondent Brian Endon, who is following this story, joins us live. Brian, the obvious question here, could this affect humans in the same way?
Well, we have to wait to find out that part of this. We've been looking over this research all day, Nicole, and obviously, like you said, anytime you hear about China doing some kind of COVID research, it does send off alarm bells. When you think back to the way the whole pandemic may have started. So there is some reason to be concerned about this. And you mentioned some of the symptoms that these mice in this lab in China have after they were tested with this new strain of COVID. Lost weight, sluggish, eyes turned white. Again, though, for us, I think the biggest concern is what kind of research are they doing, and is there the possibility of another lab leak? Could that be a problem here? We spoke to an infectious disease doctor at Florida International University. She says it's too soon to be alarmed, that it's possible this research could end up being good, could actually help prevent COVID in the future. This is what she had to say.
The studies themselves are, especially if they are well done and well contained in appropriate laboratories, are very useful for helping us get ahead of natural changes such that we can produce appropriate monoclonal antibodies, appropriate different types of enzyme inhibitors like protease inhibitors that can help us, again, get ahead and even produce better vaccines ahead of time before there's a major problem if it happens spontaneously.
And you heard the doctor there, Nicole, say if it's in an appropriate laboratory. I think that's the big question here. What kind of protocols are they taking in this lab? Should there be concern that it could possibly lead to some kind of leak? We don't know the answers to those questions yet. One of the big questions, though, has been about humanized mice. You mentioned that in your introduction. A lot of people I'd never heard of a humanized mouse. Basically, they're mice that are bred, so their immune system is similar to humans. But the doctor we spoke with emphasized that there are still some major differences.
But it's important to realize that they're still mice, and how a particular virus affects a mouse doesn't necessarily, even a humanized mouse, doesn't mean it's still a mouse. It's not going to necessarily reflect what's going to happen in a human.
Dr. Marty, who you heard from there from Florida International University, she says she was actually on a special team with United Nations that would go into laboratories around the world and make sure that they're following protocols and not doing anything dangerous. And she said based on what she knows with this situation in China, which we don't know a ton about, but based on the little information that we do have, she says she hopes that one of these teams will go in there and make sure that everything is being done safely. Because again, when you hear China and you hear COVID and you hear mice and you hear new testing, it obviously gets a lot of people worried, Nicole.
Yes, it does. All right, Brian Inton, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
Okay, I put those last two clips in there anyway, just because I really felt that y'all might need to see it. And like I said, I'm trying to go on record for saying the things that I think is going to happen and what's being said. I need to be on record for saying all that. That's why I did those two clips. Bill Gates is crazy, but we'll leave him alone for right now. So what I'm going to do right now, believe it or not, I'm just going to pivot into my quote unquote conspiracy theories avenue of this podcast. And I have a follower that I listen to on TikTok. Her name is Lacey Nicole, and the reason why I listen to a lot of different people is because my wife Yolanda, she was an empath. My wife Yolanda, she was able to do things and say stuff and tell me things so far in advance. I'll give an example. One day we was in her car. No, we was in my car, and we was driving, and we get to a red light. And where I'm at the red light, there's a gas station right to my right. So the entrance to the gas station is right by her passenger door. And she's like, Daddy, move up, just move up. And I'm like, huh? She's like, just pull up, just pull up. And I'm like, okay. So I pull up a little bit. She said, no, pull up more. Pull up as close to the car in front of you as possible. And I'm looking, I'm like, all right, you don't normally tell me don't do that, but I did it anyway. As soon as I did that, 5-car pileup right behind me. Blam, 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 blam. And every car, and the car that was right behind her ended up pulling up into that gas station. When they got hit from behind, instead of hitting us, they turned into the gas station, run right up in there. If we didn't move up, they would have slammed right in the back of us. Another time, I caught myself going to motor vehicles to get my license and everything renewed and all this. And I get there kind of late. So I'm thinking, all right, maybe I can make it from Amityville to Wantage and back in like 40 minutes. I'm bugging. But anyway, I'm going to try it. So I'm flying down Southern State. And then my wife is like, listen, Daddy, slow down. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, I can make it. She's like, listen, slow down. You're not going to make it. So me listen to my wife. I'm like, all right. And I backed up, came off the gas. As soon as I came off the gas and came around that curve, the car behind me flew past me. Boom. As soon as we hit that curve, right on there, Southern State, Belmont Park, right on that hill, 3 state troopers catching everybody. And I just happened to be in that right lane and slowed down. So when I say things that she was always able to tell me, or one day she'll be like, look, don't, for example, like she told me not to go to work. I'm the type of person that's never called in from work. I've never called in. I'm not that type of person. If I got a job to do, we got to get the job done. People depend on you to get the job done. I don't just call it just to call it. Even when I caught COVID, I went to work and they told me to go home. My boss was like, nah, get out of here. But I still showed up. That's the type of person I am. And she told me, no, don't go to work today, Dad. Don't go to work. Don't go to work. Don't go to work. Sure enough, I go to work and end up blowing out both my knees. And she told me, she was like, look, just today, just call in, please. And she never would ask me to do that because she know how I get down. But anyway, I brought those up and those examples up because I do believe in empaths. I do believe that there's people in this universe and on this planet and on this earth right now that can see stuff, that has visions, that know things. Whether you call them whatever you want to call them, they have visions and all this other stuff. There's people out here that's accurate. And I know for a fact because my wife was. How do you think I was able to do 23 years of straight, pure peace of mind? Going on 17 years of marriage, peace of mind, straight happiness. Because she was able to see things that I would follow her. So nevertheless, there's this young lady named Lacey Nicole. And I've been checking her out for a while. I've been following her. And she had a clip that she put up the other day. And I just want you to listen to it. It's a few minutes long. Once she finished with the clip, then I'll explain to you why I brought this up and how this applies to this week's conspiracy theory. Here we go.
Up to their mothership, and I asked a being there who, his name is Kinetic. He is a Pleiadian being, very beautiful, kind-hearted being who works for the Security Council, which deals with all matters of security on planet Earth. So I go to him, really, I've been going to him for over a decade now for information. So I said, yo, Kinetic, what happened? What's going on? Like, what was going on with these beings? I'll summarize what he told me, and then I'll just want to double check my notes and make sure I'm not missing anything. Essentially, Kinetic told me that was not it wasn't a plot by the government.
Just so you understand what she's talking about. Remember in Miami a few weeks ago when people was going crazy talking about there was some type of aliens and all this being seen at the mall? This is what she's talking about. So just pay attention to what she's saying, please.
And it wasn't Project Bluebeam. It wasn't some sort of holographic thing. It also, it wasn't supposed to be disclosure. It wasn't really supposed to happen. And I said, what do you mean it wasn't supposed to happen? And he tells me, and this resonated at a very deep level, so I hope it does for you too. He said, Elizabeth, I don't think you realize how many interdimensional beings are all over your planet. There are beings who have permission to observe humanity and who are very interested and intrigued and curious about humanity. So these beings like to show up in public places. Sometimes they show up in malls, sometimes they show up at festivals, sometimes they love walking the Las Vegas Strip just to observe humanity, just to be among the crowd. That being said, most of the time, these interdimensional beings are completely invisible, right? They exist in a different frequency. They exist in a different dimension. 99.999% of the time, human beings cannot see the aliens that are walking around. So what happened? What happened is planet Earth got hit with a series of solar flashes in the past month. What does that do? It increases our vibrational frequency on planet Earth. So the interdimensional beings that love just hanging out with humans undetected are all of a sudden showing up super casual, like, yep, we're here for the human party, and all of a sudden they're being seen. Right? So this is why some of the firsthand witnesses and the accounts of the people who were in the mall said they looked like shadows because they could not see their full physical form, because they weren't in a high enough frequency to see their whole full physical form, but they were in a high enough frequency to see something. And so it just makes me laugh thinking about these three like aliens being like, yo, we're back at our like stomping grounds, we're hanging out at the mall, and they just show up in the middle of this mall, and all of a sudden everyone's looking at them screaming, and they're shocked, right? Because they've done this before. They have permission to do it. It was not meant for disclosure. It was not some sort of government ploy. Think about it this way. If it was a government setup, would they not be talking about aliens showing up at the mall? The whole point of Project Blue Beam and projecting an alien invasion is that all the news media outlets cover the alien invasion. They wouldn't be covering up something if that was the whole point. You know what I mean? So anyway, I was just kind of laughing at the whole like scene and the situation, how unexpected it was for everyone, especially the beings who showed up. Okay, I just want to read my notes. Oh yeah, okay. So then I had to ask Kinetic, what do you think about it all? You know what I mean? Like, this is it's a pretty wild situation. And Kinetic said, he said overall he thinks that it was okay. Like it was like it wasn't necessarily like beneficial or detrimental. But he said that they now have like this word of caution. Like, could you imagine like the CEO of a company needing to like send out an emergency email? Attention, all interdimensional beings who have permission to go to planet Earth. Just know if you show up on planet Earth, you might be spotted. You know what I mean? Like now all of a sudden, they have to be more aware of what they're doing, where they're going, and kind of assuming that they might be seen, right, nowadays, which is really cool. So what's going to happen is moving forward all over planet Earth, we are going to see more interdimensional beings. That's what's going to happen. And then I also picked up, so yeah, I mentioned this will keep happening all over the world, and there was no relation to Vegas. The whole Vegas thing, there was no relation. I did channel Vegas. I remote viewed what happened in Vegas, and yes, it was an extraterrestrial contact. That was also kind of an accident in a very different way, but there was no relation. That being said, thank you all so much. Astro traveled up to their mothership, and I asked a.
So one of the reasons why I bring this clip up, okay, is hear how she said we got hit by solar flares to the point that it raised our vibrational frequency. So when I started hearing stuff like that and I started thinking about things like that, I'm like, why can't she be right? Because think about it. Right now we got we being hit with GMO. We getting hit by what are they spraying in the sky? All these chemtrails. We being hit by drugs, alcohol, radio frequencies, all type of AM, FM, different type of frequencies all through the air, HARP, all kinds of frequencies that's stopping our vibrational frequency from reaching where we're supposed to be at. So check this out, y'all. Do me a favor. When y'all get a chance, look up strange sightings throughout the world. Giants, dragons, all kinds of creatures being seen out of nowhere, and people saying that maybe it's not this Project Bluebeam and stuff. And what if they came up with Project Bluebeam? Like I always say, I'd be into this triple dagger, double speak, trying to double agent crap. If they say, all right, we'll come up with a thing called Project Bluebeam to make people think that it's going to be an alien invasion. But what if the alien invasion was real? What if that our frequencies get raised to like a higher ascension and we start being able to balance and understand and get on a higher frequency, bouncing our chakra and our energy? See, they said that there were giant trees. There were giants. All these folklores that I keep saying that why can't it be true? And maybe these things still exist, but if we're on different frequencies, we can't see certain things. And it's crazy because like, okay, check it. I'm gonna give you 2 examples of things. I tried to tell one of the stories on TikTok the other day, and I tried to explain to you earlier about the videos that all of a sudden end up on my wife's phone. I've never touched her phone since she passed away, and I never sent anything there. All my videos were done off of my phone. How they end up on her phone, I have no clue. Here's another thing that happened. Me and Yolanda's oldest daughter, one day, she's trying to do a science project or whatever. She needs a quarter, just 1 quarter. Now, in our house, in our bedrooms, we don't change on the floor. When you get change in your pocket, it falls on the floor, you just leave it there. So a lot of times when you need change, you go look on the floor. You need a nickel or dime, or the girls need something for school. They want to buy a snack. They'll go grab change from around the floor in my room or something, right? So we telling my daughter she's looking for a quarter. We can't find a quarter. So I go in there and I'm looking right on the side of her bed. I'm like, all right, go look in my room. I think I got some quarters, something on my dresser. We go in the room. I got nickels and dimes and everything else. We go back in her room. Word to God, word to the universe. There was a quarter sitting right in the middle of her floor. And I know for a fact we just double checked it. I remember when she came in the room, she checked her mother's urn on my dresser and was like, Mommy, I just need a quarter. We walked back in the room, there's a quarter on the floor. So I know that there are things happens in the universe, and I don't care. Can't nobody tell me that the universe ain't real, that there's not a higher being. There's not things in the universe that exist that we don't know about 100%. When you look at the universe, you just look at our planet, you just look at the 9 planets, even though they say Pluto's not a planet no more, but that's up for debate. But nevertheless, the 9 planets. Just looking at the 9 planets alone, in my mind, we would have to be so closed-minded to think that, especially for people that believe in God or creation, that we're the only living life form throughout the whole universe. And there's so many sciences and things that we do not understand, like reverse electrons, negative electrons. How do you come up with that? There's a things that they're just starting to find out that makes no sense. Like even scientists and everybody's coming up that they got to be a god, they got to be a creator. So you got to sit down and bow because what we figured out this is not supposed to happen. But what I think is they knew that things were deeper than what it is, because if you do your research like I have, and a lot of times I read stuff and I don't write it down, it just sticks in the back of my head, so I'm going off the top of my head. But I believe the 1920s is when they started taking the element ether off the element table. Add that ether back to the element table and you'll have a whole different type of science. When these kids have another element to mess with when they're doing their science project or doing their element table, and now there's ether there, what can ether be mixed with? What can ether be combined with to try something new? See, there's things that when they started the education system, they started taking things out the education system just so we won't know about it. Like what I've been doing lately is I've been brushing my teeth with my left hand. I've been trying to use my phone with my left hand. I've been trying to write a little bit with my left hand. I've been cutting my food reverse, holding my knife with my right and cutting, you know, just trying to do things differently just to try to get the other side of my brain to work. What people don't understand is before they came out with the education system, we used to be taught to use both hands. You would do half the day with your right hand, half the day with your left hand, so that you could activate both sides of the brain. And they stopped that. The education system stopped that. So if they stopped that and they stopped us from learning things about ether and other types of elements, then we don't have all the information to really come up with the real answers. So just by taking that one, and that's like playing Scrabble and somebody takes the J. You understand? You know how many words you cannot spell just by taking the J or taking the Z? or taking a Y. Just take one letter out of that Scrabble board and you mess the whole game up. You really can't. You can't spell a word because Scrabble only counts what, one J, one X, one whatever, something like that. So without those letters, you can't do much. It's the same thing with life. It's the same thing with the element table. When you move one element away, you can't come up with all the combinations that these kids in school and colleges should be able to figure out without that element. So if they only dealing with 10 elements and coming up with combinations of the 10 elements, they're only going to come up with a limited amount of combination. But you add just one more element, ether, and what do you have? Then people start realizing that there are things that spirituality is real. That the mind, body, soul, spirit, they're all separate entities, all within one. You'll start figuring these things out, and then you'll be able to master your chakras and your energy levels and your energy fields and all this other stuff. Check this out. My wife did this when I first met Yolanda. She was in college. She was like, look, put your hands straight out. Everybody do this. Just put your hands straight out and just look as close to your skin as possible and just watch yourself. Over the period of time, you'll start seeing a radiant color. Some people color might be light blue, white. When you start getting to the grays and blacks, you got bad energy. But you could see your energy field. We all have one. Imagine when we all start being able to master our energy field and move our vibrations up, what this girl was just talking about. Then we'll be able to see things that people say that really there. Once you start moving your energy level up and getting to a higher vibration, and then all of a sudden you start understanding the other elements of ether and those other things put together, then you start coming up with different combinations of what things really could be. But without all the information, we'll never be able to do it. We're trying to solve a puzzle without all the puzzle pieces. Just add ether in there. Get the radiation. That's why they say these monks, they go to these remote areas and they get away from all this energy and negative energy that's messing up your field. So that's why they say sometimes we go on vacation, go somewhere that's not around all these wires. Go in the middle of the country somewhere. Go up in the mountains somewhere. Go hiking. Get away from all these wires and all these frequencies that's not the frequencies that we supposed to be on. You know, they got weapons where they could actually send frequency at you that make you feel like you burning. They got weapons that frequency weapons that can make you start feeling like you got to shit on yourself. Actually start boiling your blood while it's in your body. They got these weapons. Why? Because it's frequency. Once we start mastering our frequencies, then that's where the great awakening is really going to happen. And we're on that path to that direction right now. We're in Aquarius now. Over the next 25,000 years, it's going to get to the point where, like I said, I really feel it's going to get to the point where they can't lie no more. And we almost there. And I'm also starting to think, and I thought about this the other day when after I heard this clip, and my mind is just going all over the place. I was thinking, like, why do they keep doing the Great Reset? Every time they do the Great Reset, do you know what I realized? They say the devil can't create nothing, he could only destroy. So if the Great Reset is all about destruction, how do we keep coming back? Because what happens is when they destroy everything and everything gets obliterated on this planet, that means they're taking down all the power lines. They're taking away all the antennas, all that stuff that was messing things up. And then over time, we being built in the image of God can rebuild ourselves again. And that's how all the great societies keep coming back. Because when they say that we are in God's image, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about our DNA. They're talking about the ether, the part that they try to take away, the vibration, the energy field. So that's what we got to start focusing on, getting our energy back. That's when they say balance your chakra, meditate, ohms. Look up what ohms are. Om. What is ohms? Look it up. I'm not telling you what to do. Do your own research. Look up what ohms are. Ohms is a form of a measurement of energy. So when all the Buddhists and everybody's go, om, yeah, you're balancing your frequency, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we're trying to do. So with this conspiracy theory and this angle that I'm coming from, I don't think lacing the code's too far off. I don't believe what she's saying is false. I believe that we need to be more open-minded to what's going on in the world because we're gonna start seeing things that we never thought we could see before. The truth is gonna be revealed, and we have to open our minds to see it. Because y'all gotta remember, a lot of your Christians out there, a lot of the Muslims out there, a lot of the Buddhists, and a lot of these other religions, in your religion, it tells you that besides God, there's demons. Some call it jinns and jans, demons, ghoul goblins and ghouls and all that negative, vampires and all that stuff. The negative side exists. Oh, don't think they don't. Don't think there wasn't bloodsuckers. Don't think there's all kind of creatures that's running around this planet that just want to avoid us. Because you got to remember, as humans, we some destructive mother effers, y'all. We destroy. Oh, trust me, as humans, if it were another alien species looking at us, they would be scared. Cause they're like, yo, them humans, man, they'll knock you off real quick. They'll blow you up real quick. They'll shoot you real quick. They'll drop you real quick. Humans are destructive as a whole. So anyway, excuse me. But anyway, that's pretty much with this conspiracy theory. I just want everybody to know that we got to start understanding and get on our frequencies. We're gonna start seeing a lot of crazy things. Like I said, that ice wall. What if everybody's right? What if leprechauns are real? Pygmies are. So you mean there couldn't be no midget white things running around? Not just black midgets running around? Or small people? Yeah, leprechauns could probably be real. What if leprechauns were little white people that really was into the ground and knew where the gold really was? Because ain't gold in the ground? You tell me that there's people that don't live in the earth? Go to Manhattan right now, look up the mole people. Go to a lot of these different states where people actually live in the caves and underground. Shit, go to Hawaii. Dead ass, go to Hawaii. I went to Hawaii, me and my wife got married in 20 years. All right, about 17, 18 years ago, me and my wife went out to Hawaii, right? And if y'all don't know, they got this highway called the H3, probably one of the most expensive highways ever built because it went through the mountain. When you drive on that H3, all those woods that you see around the H3 and everything, there's homeless people living in those woods in Hawaii. They don't tell you that. Because in Hawaii, you could live off the land. So they probably wouldn't even call them homeless. They're just Hawaiian. But those are homeless Hawaiians. All these major corporations and the United States military ran up in Hawaii so much and started taking all the people's stuff and pushing them into the woods. Yeah, facts. Go check it out. Go do your research. Go see what they do to the people in Hawaii. They treat them people like that. Man, listen, I'm telling you right now. I remember watching an episode of The Brady Bunch when I was little. And I remember they went over there and took something for Hawaii and they had to bring it back. I'm telling y'all right now, Hawaii is a blessed island. And even though it's going through some foul stuff with these people trying to take everything, what's coming back, that island is going to speak to the people that did negative things to Hawaii. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. The universe is going to speak back to the people that did that to Hawaii. But anyway, we got to get back on our spirituality, on our energy fields, on our chakras, and start meditating and stuff. Because when you do that, you'll find that you really can stay in tune with stuff. Like, all right, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Me being in this little bubble for so many years, it got to the point that I can't be around. It's hard for me to be around negative and nonsense. I can see it a mile away to the point that I come back to the house because I just don't want to be around there. It was to the point that my wife really didn't like leaving the house because every time she left the house, she could feel everybody's energy that she would always be uncomfortable. She would get uncomfortable. She'd be like, all right, Daddy, we can't go there. Nah, let's not go in there. One time we was going to Massapequa Mall, and just as we pull up to A&S over to JCPenney, but just as we pulled up, she was just like, nah, we got these bad vibes. And she didn't even want to go in the mall. Sure enough, there was a riot in the mall that day. All kinds of nonsense jumped off. But we left. I used to not listen to her like, whatever. Then after a while, when, people start being right, you start like, okay, all right. Okay, baby, all right, you got that, yo. And then next thing you know, it's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 15 years, 20 years, 23 years of her being accurate to the point now when I hear people like Lacey Nicole and people start telling you things that Palladians and other living life forms that walk through this earth, well, why not? What if you were such a good person that you raise your frequency high enough that one of these entities would want to speak to you? You understand what I mean? So let's not just be so closed-minded to think that none of this stuff exists. I'm not saying that it all does. I'm not saying that Project Bluebeam won't happen. I'm not saying none of that. What I am saying is that there's no way in the world that we could be the only living life forms or the highest intelligent beings throughout the whole universe. Humans, as destructive as we are, this is the God created. This is the only thing that was created throughout the universe. When once you read the Bible, it tells you that the water was already here because God separated the firmament from the water and then pulled the land out of the water, which means that there was people already living in the ocean. There was already different types of beings on this planet already, just this planet alone. And how many planets is in our solar system that we know of? They're talking about there's a 10th planet whose parallax is between Uranus and I think Neptune, one of the planets that spins backwards, but their parallax, which is like their orbit around the sun, is once they come around the sun, they might go 2,000 years past Pluto and then make a U-turn and come back all the way around. That's how far their rotation around the Earth is. That's their orbit. So when that big giant planet comes back through, allegedly, that's the one that messes up all the gravitational pulls and magnetic forces of these other planets. There's all kinds of things that happen in the universe that we have no knowledge of or just have no concept of. And right now, the way that if you look at, like I said, all the radiation, all the frequencies and everything that it hit us with, bombarding like phones in your pocket. You know that they're saying that so many men now aren't even able to catch erections to have sperm counts. And I think that's because all the phones in everybody's pocket. Now you don't got phones in your pocket. Now you got your smartwatches on your wrist. So now you got it from your pocket to your wrist, all kinds of stuff that you're walking around every day, disrupting your energy field. Take that stuff off. Turn your phone off. Take them watches off. Go back to an old analog watch that you can put on your wrist and to learn how to tell time. These watches and devices are getting like these calculators. Remember when people got calculators? After a while, nobody knew how to do math. Now it's getting to the point nobody knows how to think for themselves. You want to ask a question, just go, oh, tell me. Not even go look it up and read for yourself or study or cross-reference. Just somebody tells you, and that's fact now. And a lot of time it's not. But nevertheless, y'all, I appreciate y'all listening to me. There's really no Tiger Talk Tree perspective. This week's perspective is just strictly I'm back. I'm trying to get my TikTok following back up. I'm trying to bring out new subjects. I've been doing some research, trying to get more at writing and preparing myself in preparation and not saying and really getting comfortable talking to y'all and just going on my own tangents and finding out who I am and how this podcast is gonna go. But I really believe that there's a lot of things going on. We're in a sign of Aquarius now. I was reading where we're gonna get out of organized religion and now people are starting to look for numerology, astronomy, and astrology. And that's what's happening right now. Everybody sees it. So I think this great reset that's going on, this big destruction that's going on, I think it's going to backfire this time. And the reason why I think it's going to backfire because hypothetically, let's just say we do go to war and there's a EMP and all that. That might be beneficial. See, a lot of times these evil people do stuff and it backfires on them because one thing we was given was free will. They can't manipulate that. They think they can, but they can't. You can never know what a man's gonna do. You never know how a woman's gonna respond. You never know how much empathy somebody really has in their heart. You never know if somebody just be like, you know what, I'm done. Once people get to that point, then what? So yeah, when all this stuff goes down, all these calamities and everything, like I'm gonna give you another example. For example, they say this fruit crisis is coming. But this fruit crisis could be a benefit in the long run if you think about it. Because if there's a food crisis, that means less people be eating all that bad crap. It'll force people to start growing their own organic foods again. And you start eating healthier. And then once people start eating healthier, it'd be less likely that people start going back to them heavy sugars and everything once you start feeling better. And, and going back to because right now we having our own great reset because the youth is so broke that they not going to be able to have anything. So it's going to be back to the wild, wild west. Don't you know a lot of these young kids are living in van life, tiny living off the land, learn how to be self-sufficient, how to grow their own food, how to eat organically, how to make their own medicines, how to homestead, taking it back to what things are really supposed to be. It's the safety, all nature. Go back to nature. That's what's happening inadvertently. Another example, when no racism, because racism ain't my platform, but let's just say the government tried to make all black people catch felonies. Everything was a felony. Every time you turn around in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they were trying to lock a black person up for anything. Everything became a felony. But then once they want you to go to war, what happened was the blacks couldn't go to war after a while because we all have felonies. If we all have felonies, we couldn't go to the military. So what did they do? They changed the rules and said, no, 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 no. Because what's going to happen is all these rich politicians' kids was going to get drafted and they was going to go to war and they would have died. And if all these rich people's kids would have died, who would have been left in this world? Us. The quote unquote downtrodden, the despicables, as Hillary would call us. Right? That's what would happen. Everything be left to the despicables. Because all the rich people kids would have went to war and they would have died. But instead, they flipped it and was like, nah, you know what? Now you could go to the military with a felony. They take you right out of prison, take you right to the military. You probably won't get no intelligence job or nothing, but you'll be a foot soldier. See how things backfire? All of a sudden, crack was all of this, all this crack, until, coke, until the white boys started doing all of it and then became a problem. So then they had to separate it because it was backfiring. Whatever the devil tried to do something to you, it backfired because the devil could not create, it could only destroy. So anytime the devil tried to do something that's going to create something, even if it's destroying something, it's going to destroy something. And out of that C-19, I think that was a psyop on the people. Bill Gates talking about it was coming out. They already did tests about that COVID-19 coming out. Yeah, everything happened. COVID-19 came and everything. But guess what? It backfired. You know how it backfired? Because locking down all these people with COVID forced people to learn how to start their own businesses and become self-sufficient. It backfired. Now they don't know what to do. Nobody wants to go back to work. None of these young kids are like coming at 8:00 for a meeting. You said I was hired from 9 to 5. Are you gonna pay me extra? You gonna give me a bonus for coming in? No, then I'm not doing it. These companies are wilding. Bad enough you're working 8, 9 hours a day, 5, 6 days a week. Half your life is working, the other half is sleeping, and then you die? No, these young kids don't want to live like that. They're making their own money. They're making their own way. The wild, wild west. See how history repeats itself? It's the young kids. It's these new generation, the ones that got so screwed by the last 5 generations that now they sitting here like, we're not dealing with none of y'all. We don't believe the politicians. These young don't believe the reverends or the preachers or the church. They out here doing it themselves. And that's how it backfired. And it's going to be the youth that's going to help us get out of this. Because they're the ones creating the new jobs. Selling NFTs and digital and all this stuff. They're the one that's coming up with different ways of surviving. Remember, AI is coming. There's going to be a lot of jobs that people are not going to have. They're talking about cars that could drive themselves, trucks that could drive themselves. So the truck drivers are gone, the conductors are gone, and then the laborers are gone. What are they going to do with all these people? Here's a suggestion: kill them, start a war, and kill millions and millions and millions of people, so that when this great reset comes, they could use the technology to do everything else. But anyway, y'all, that's this week's show. I just want everybody to stay on point. There's a lot of things going on. We're in the signs of Aquarius now. This is the new year. We until next time, if there's a next time. Thanks you, everybody.